This is a really fun webinar today. I've got a pretty cool demo here, and I'm actually running. But I think both of us are running from B1s, right?
I am today. Yep, I brought that
Yeah.
with me.
So I've got my B1 right there, and so I'm actually hardwired into that, and so I'm kind of running some. I got some ping tests going. I've got my connection running, so I'll be doing some real world demos today. If for everybody. So I'm pretty excited about that. And yeah, we're gonna have a fun day talking about backup 5G and broadband replacement.
Yeah, I love this because, backup 5G, I think, is what a lot of people have thought of, but just the entire landline replacement situation is just so possible now. And so, yeah, I think there's a great story to talk about here.
Yeah, and we have a pretty neat one from a kind of a raving fan at this point. So it's gonna be really fun to talk about that as well. Well, let's
Nice.
go ahead and get started because we do have people on here, and I respect everybody's time. So thank you so much for jumping on. My name is Peter West with West Networks, and with me is Travis Durick from Peplink, and this is our I don't know 26th or 27th consecutive webinar on Peplink products, technologies, and the idea is to actually not just have a sales pitch, but to show you how these products work and to use them in the real world. And so Peplink University, the goal is training and brand awareness through education. So welcome and thank you for being here and taking part in this. Over the last couple of years, I started doing Peplink and healthcare. Actually, was my key, my core vertical, providing mobility for healthcare and really building out what bonding is. And about 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, we were challenged by a, a retailer, quick service restaurant, to provide broadband replacement. And I have never thought about, like, even though I do it in mobility, I didn't really think about it. I was like, if you can get a hardwire, get a hardwire. Like I've always told people, if you get a hardwire, you should have a hardwire. And the gentleman challenged us, said, look, it's expensive, it takes a lot of time, and we just want to be able to turn on our stores and go. And we're looking for a real broadband replacement for our retail operations, and really challenged to think about how I handle the internet today. And it's changed how we operate on a regular basis and how we can share the power of Peplink or the power of 5G. So I'm pretty excited today to talk about that and to share some of these stories. Um, when we think about cutting the cord with Peplink, there are scenarios where people have 5G, and so we call this, hot failover or landline failover. The idea is, 5G or Starlink automatically failing over in the event that your internet fails, your broadband, and that happens. I mean, I own an ice cream store here in Florida, and often the staff will say, "Hey, the guest Wi-Fi is down." And but your point of sale is working, right? They go, "Yeah, yeah, the point of sale is working." And I go, "Yeah, it's we shut off the guest Wi-Fi when we're on 5G. I'll call the ISP and open up a support ticket." And so the idea is that, broadband, if you have broadband and it's up and running, it can be very cost effective. It offers typically unlimited bandwidth. And so if it's installed and already present, it can be a great source of reliability, but even that, it does fail. And so we need to make sure that if we're running point of sale transactions and everything is connected to the internet, your email, your credit card processing, your applications, I mean, if you're running Uber Eats or any type of scheduling or cloud service, you need to be connected to the internet, and it cannot fail. Failure is just simply not an option. And so we have hot failover, which I wish this side said landline hot failover. And the idea
Yeah.
is, in the event of a broadband outage, that 5G seamlessly takes over. There's no drop in connectivity. The PCI credit card processing happens as if you never even lost internet. And depending on your needs, you can either keep your guest Wi-Fi up and running or shut it down, to save 5G bandwidth. But the idea is that with 5G, it's gotten so fast and so reliable that you can truly use it to run your business on a daily basis. And so you can have this hot failover where you're keeping your, you keep your broadband because it's there and it's affordable, and then just fail over to 5G.
Yeah,
The
I
other,
think a lot of people have thought about the 5G failover or 4G failover, and I think they really missed that detail that you said with Peplink is it's seamless, right? It's truly seamless hot failover. So not even one credit card swipe fails, right? Every transaction stays up even through that instant outage. So it's even that is a better experience than most people have had when they've looked or tried failover like that before.
amen. And so the next one is 5G replacement or landline replacement. And it's not even 5G. It could be what's down below, replacement 5G and Starlink, right? The
Mhm.
idea is you can now, depending on your bandwidth needs, either one or more than one 5G connections to be bonded together to create, just simply it's up and running. I mean, a single T-Mobile 5G SIM card, boom, you're up and running. Or even a single Starlink, and you could be up and running. 0 day, no install, waiting for the cable line or the fiber to be run to the building, and you could operate. But a lot of times our customers are doing bonded 5G as a 5G replacement, as a broadband replacement, because one, it's so affordable these days. 5G is incredibly cost effective. And so the ability to take either two T-Mobiles or T-Mobile and AT&T or T-Mobile and Verizon and bond those together, and create an incredibly reliable, because once again, multi-carrier support bonded gives you high bandwidth, high gigabytes. Usually those kind of cap out about a terabyte each. So you're talking 2 terabytes of store of usage. Um, and you're up and running in seconds or minutes, right? You just turn it on and boom, you're up and running. And
Yeah, I
so,
think the landline replacement creates so much simplicity for the store, the restaurant chain, and because it takes their number of carriers to one, two, or three, right? For every store nationwide. They have just the same carriers every store, and it's the same equipment, the same setup. It's just actually identical everywhere they go,
yep,
and they're ready for any new store right now today.
amen. And it works that easy. And then the last option is, and I kind of already hit on it, but the idea of, once again, broadband replacement by using 5G and Starlink. So, and then there's a fourth one, really, which would be all of them, right? You could have broadband, 5G and Starlink, depending on your mission. And, you know, um, Travis has always said, and I always clone you on this, but how many nines do you need? What's the level of uptime does your business need? I mean, broadband, 5G, Starlink, bonding all those together creates incredible resiliency, reliability, and uptime. And so if you have the most critical need for uptime, that really does play a role. And the ability to combine Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, Starlink, Cooper, you know, OneWeb, Iridium, right? You can take all these and combine them together. Now, I don't think your retail store is going to pay, $2,000 a month for service, but you could have, whatever internet you need to function. And that's what's so cool about this scenario is that you just build it based on the performance you need. Or even if you're in a bad coverage area, maybe you need 2 or 3 star 5Gs instead of just one. Downtown San Francisco, one might work, right? You get gig down, 100 up, and you're up and running. But maybe in rural Mississippi, you might need a little bit more, maybe 2 or 3 services to give you that broadband performance you need. And once again, that scalability makes it nice and easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is probably one of the things I love the most about Peplink, and I'll say this a lot, but people ask me all the time, how can I manage so many customers from all over the world? And the answer is in control. Peplink's in control changed how I fundamentally run my business. The ability to support thousands of customers all over the world from a single web platform. And for a user or a consumer level, it's zero touch. You can set, if you, once again, we talk about this idea of, if I have these routers set up and I've got 2,000 stores and I need to have a firewall that's PCI compliant and outbound policies and VLANs for my credit card and my guest network and my Wi-Fi network, and you just program those, assign it to your devices, and then you turn on the device and you have your guest Wi-Fi, your VLAN, your PCI compliance, your firewall policy. You don't have to worry about going, oh man, I forgot to set up the firewall policy, because it just does it for you. You don't have to think
Yeah,
about it. You don't
automatic.
have to worry that did I apply the right policy to this router? Who forgot to, configure it? You configure it in control, and then the router is set up and done. It makes it so ridiculously easy. I cannot, I just I can't stress it enough.
Yeah, and
And
there's so many layers of problems it solves, right? I mean, if you've got 1,000 stores and you've got an admin that leaves your company, you just click a button and you've rekeyed the passwords to all 1,000 of your routers immediately, right then and there. I mean, there's just so many simple tools that just, like you said, that's how you can scale yourself, Peter. That's how your
yeah,
team does it too. I think the other one, it really just adds to this zero touch experience is our pooled eSIM data plans. When you've got those enabled on your IC2 group, every device out of the box will come online. You just plug it into
yeah.
power and antennas, and it is literally online. And you can push a third-party eSIM at that point. You can push all your configs at that point. You just ship it to the store, and it comes online ready to go. You don't even have to touch it.
I had a
It really
customer.
is that simple.
I had a customer that was doing one of our 10x. A lot of what we do is mobile health, and so we had a customer doing 10 5G. So it's a 1350 EC 24 port switch, VLAN as WAN, to power the routers, and then the BR1 Pro 5G in the max antenna. So you have 10 of those. Well, the
Mhm.
customer didn't want on-site installation, and configuring this that's not the easiest thing in the world to configure conceptually.
There's a lot of
And
devices there.
it's a lot of devices. And so I was like, and then I was like, how do I get this programmed? And so I logged in control. I said, okay, I should grab one BR1, just one of them, plug it into the switch, and then take your WAN of the 1350 and plug it into the switch, because the switch will give it PoE, it'll power up that BR1.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I assigned the eSIM data to the BR1 that brought up the
Hmm.
switch and the router, right?
Hmm.
And then I programmed all the switch ports with the VLAN 3001 to 3010. I set up
Okay,
the
yeah.
1350 with VLAN as WAN 3001 to 3010, trunked that on a port 24 on the switch up to the 1350. Then I said, okay, now take all of leave the one BR1 how it is, take all your other BR1s and plug them into ports 2 through 10. They
Hmm.
plugged those in, brought them up. I synergized them all, brought them online. And then I said, okay, now that they're online with your SIM cards and the SIM injector and they're all up and running, now I factory reset the one router, the one that I
Hmm.
had, and then it got synergized, came online. And the guy was like, holy cow. And the SIM pool, in control in the SIM pool made that possible, that in a matter of 30 minutes, I programmed this entire network completely remotely without console cables, and just using an eSIM pool and in control. And it was
Yeah,
crazy.
it really is zero touch in the realest sense, right? You don't even have to insert a SIM card. You just plug it in and put those antennas on. Yeah, that's so cool because like you said, that's a big deployment, right? That's not a,
It's a big deployment. And I did it with an eSIM pool that we just bought for our company. And I just, activate the eSIM and then I turn it off when I'm done. And they're running their SIM cards.
yep, and you didn't even use a gig of data, probably. You probably
Nope.
used,
No, not even a couple hundred megs, right?
yeah.
Um, so use cases here, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, but we have this broadband and 5G, or 5G and 5G. And I actually have, let's see if I can exit. There we go. So I have my B1 set up, and you can see I've got my Verizon, my T-Mobile, my Starlink. I am literally taking advantage of every feature that's built into a B1 5G. And this B1 5G is like 549 or some ridiculously low price. And I mean, so I get this VLAN capability, VLAN is WAN, and I've got a Starlink plugged into LAN 4 of my B1. Then I've got a transit 5G plugged into my WAN 2, and I'm synergizing that. And so you can see this synergy mode transit. And so I've got my transit 5G that I got from that's plugged in there. And then my WAN 1 is my broadband. And so I've got my broadband, my cellular, my Starlink, and my transit 5G. Ignore those other VLANs. And so then under SpeedFusion Connect client mode, I have SpeedFusion Connect automatic, and I have a couple profiles here. And I ignore these last two. I'm only using these first ones. So the first one is my default, and I'm doing hot failover. I'm basically saying, hey, use the broadband, and then if the broadband fails, fail over to bond everything else. Because my broadband's unlimited, right? I've got that. It's perpetual. It's low cost, and it's right there. And then I've got WAN smoothing, and WAN smoothing, I have them all at the highest, and then I've enabled WAN smoothing right here. And this is for Zoom calls and Teams calls, iMessage and FaceTime and that kind of stuff. Then under route by cloud application, I simply created a policy that says WAN smoothing, Zoom, Teams, FaceTime, and Google Meet. Now, if I go to status, active sessions, search, and you can see if you have your Zoom, your services here, show all, I can scroll down to Zoom, and you can see there's my Zoom and my SSL Zoom and Teams kind of, oh, it looks like some of these are not detected. That's funny. They're using just the hot failover. And then you can see my Zoom right there, my Teams right there, all using WAN smoothing. And so you can see my WAN smoothing, you can see my regular internet, and it's all being kind of going over, but it's all over SFC. So here's my hot failover, and you can see these ICMPs. I'm also running a consistent ping as well. And so the idea is I'm able to have two profiles. So my other profile, if I go to advanced and outbound policies, is right here. So I have my hot failover profile where I'm just saying, hey, use SpeedFusion Connect. If for whatever reason that doesn't work, just go out any internet connection. So just load balance my WANs appropriately. So kind of even a tertiary redundancy. And so I can take my broadband circuit, move it over to a lower priority, and you'll see if I go to status, SpeedFusion Connect, you'll see that my WAN 1 is down, my cellulars took over, and my WAN smoothing is using both those internet connections. And I lost no data. And so my ping is going over hot failover. So my ping is literally going out that broadband, and then when I dragged it over, the ping moved to these cellulars. But because I'm bonding them, they didn't even drop. And so I can go back to the dashboard, bring this back up. And if I go to status and SpeedFusion, you'll see, look, these are now standby. It moved back over to the WAN 1, and my pings are still running. Never dropped a ping.
Smooth as butter. Not
Oh,
a
okay. You never want the blue screen of death when you do these demos. But I wanted to show you how reliable and smooth that is. And so on every day, because I'm using hot failover, this WAN is being used, and the 5G and Starlink is just sitting there waiting to be used. It's using a little bit of data because it's active, but it's not using a lot of data. And that's the point behind that, is that I can have it there. It's going to use about maybe 300 or 400 megabytes a month, but I'm not using a lot of data. It's sitting there passive, and it's immediate. And I do that with this dashboard view. So if I go to my dashboard, you'll see they're all active. If I were to drag all these over to priority 2 and had just WAN 1 and then unplug WAN 1, there'd be a slight blip. I'd lose a little bit of data, like one ping, while it activated those services. Those services are standby. They've got to turn on, then kick in. And so I get a lot of people that complain about hot failover losing a little bit of data. And so you've got to use outbound policies and hot failover in SpeedFusion configuration, but you want these to be active for the fastest possible failover. And I thought that was a really cool demo. I crossed my fingers when I did it just to, but I'm happy it worked as expected. And you can see that I haven't lost. Yeah, I haven't lost any pings the whole time. And so that's sort of the idea behind it. Let me go back to slideshow here. And you actually got to witness both of these in one scenario. So when I failed over from my broadband to my 5G, I actually went into this scenario right here where I had Verizon and T-Mobile. You saw that bonded together, and Starlink actually, as a primary circuit. And so I went from broadband hot failover, broadband 5G, to bonded 5G and Starlink. to keep this up and running and to continue my session. And so both those scenarios work really well. And we did some speed tests prior to this. It does suck up all the bandwidth and did make my voice jittery when I did the speed test. So we won't do it live. But Speed Fusion Connect is limited to 200 megabits. On the broadband, I was 200 by 200. That was pure because it's a gig broadband. But my 5G was about 180 by about 190, which was an interesting one. I actually had a little higher upload than I did download in our speed test. And so, I'm getting really good bandwidth. I'm able to bond the two 5Gs and the Starlink, and was able to see incredible capacity there, which was really nice to see as well. And it's literally running right there. That's what we're plugged into.
I think your demo outlines a scenario we've seen happen a lot too, where the customer just doesn't the hot failover thing makes perfect sense to them, right? And they're willing to jump on that, but they're not fully bought in on the whole like cut the cord and just wireless is good enough concept, right? But what you did in your demo is you proved to them, right? So they just experience it over some time when their landline cuts. Yes, you actually are using a bonded wireless solution and see it works great. And then they get comfortable with it, and all they have to do is stop paying for their landline, right? They've already migrated at that point. And we've seen a lot of customers take that path where it's failover first, but then they start believing it and trusting it because they see it. And yeah, it's a cool combination.
It is a really cool combination, it's one of those things where, like you said, I love the way you said too, like the evolution of that, because which goes right into this slide that we're on right now. But it creates trust, right? It's interesting because Sports Clips, when we started working with them, they gave us this list of challenges. And it literally, it's, hey, like, we're paying for this backup service, it's not working. We'll avoid the support conversation. We'll talk about Peplink only, but there's no visibility control, outdated hardware. Their failover just wasn't, when their broadband went down, they were effectively down. The 4G service and the connectivity they had wasn't good enough. And one of the things, we went and audited a couple of the stores. We actually went to a couple of the stores, took some photos. And one of the things that I noticed is you'd have this router, and then you had the Wi-Fi and the cellular antennas. Well, half of them had boxes on top of them, and they were broken. And so we had these routers that probably could have had fine service, really, but they were all, the antennas were just sitting there with bags and boxes underneath the counter, and they were broken. And so I challenged my team, my manufacturing team. I said, hey guys, we need to make a kit that can literally be tossed underneath a cabinet, piled with backpacks and boxes, and not break. And so we 3D printed a chassis that holds a B1 5G and a 42G antenna. And the 42G is ruggedized. It's built for outdoor connectivity. And so it's going to function incredibly well for rigidity. It's going to be able to survive underneath the cabinet if it can survive outside in the snow and trees hitting it and things like that. And it's only a 1-foot cable, so it nicely connects into the router and created this incredible hardened, like, point of sale connectivity in a box. And then the B1 5G with the latest 5G chipset was fast. And so we had a customer, one of their stores, where the WAN went out and the 5G was faster than the broadband they were paying for. And they're like, hey, can we stay on that? And so, it was really interesting to see. But then what's really, really funny about this is we anticipated about 80% of the stores were going to require on-site installation. But because of the way that we bundled the solution, we're only at 2% that are actually asking for on-site installation because it's so easy to set up. Like, literally, we mailed them this box that's got the router, the antenna, and everything all set up, and they just plug it in, swap the cables. We have a little color code that we did for it, and so they just plug in their cables and they're up and running. And so we're at less than 2% of the stores are actually asking us to do an on-site install.
That's
so But that's the power of the visibility of in control, right? We can remotely program these, use the pooled eSIM data, keep them with the latest upgraded hardware, and then obviously, I mean, a little tout to my support team, but then we can provide them amazing support. And
Mhm.
so, the ability for good support, real failover, using a B1 5G, which I just did and showed you guys earlier, and having the latest 5G chipsets makes it incredibly fast, resilient, reliable, and it's an experience that they can look at and go, yes, my store is going to stay running even if my internet fails. And that's something that most people can't say.
So one thing that I think is interesting here is you haven't talked about one thing that I'm curious about is how many of these stores needed a rooftop antenna? None. That's what I was hoping the answer
Yeah.
was, but that it's that combination, right? That kit you built, that 42G antenna is so strong
Yeah.
from just gathering signal that I think you very likely avoided the need for that in a lot of those cases too. So, but even better, you didn't even have to go there. I mean, that
Yep.
to me is amazing. 2%
Yeah.
just period.
Yeah. It's pretty neat. Uh, and so, yeah, you can see, and I love this from Lee, one of the director of technology. Peplink's performance paired with West Network's responsive US-based support has significantly improved uptime and changed our expectations for reliable net or for retail network reliability. And you know, when we were doing the survey with them in the meetings, they said, "Well, what happens when we're down for 3 days? What are you going to do?" And I go, "What do you mean? What do you? No, you won't be down for
No,
what? No, like
where
I'm
is
not
that
going to create a
happening?
I'm not going to create a policy that protects me if you're down for 3 days. Like that's not no. If the only way you'd be down for 3 days if there's a hurricane that comes through and knocks out
Yeah.
and you're closed for 3 days, not
Yep.
not no other reason. Um, and so, but it's an amazing case study on the Peplink ecosystem and what it can do. And whether it's West Networks or somebody else, the partnership that Peplink brings to the table in control of the hardware, 5G, eSIM pool data. This is something that we can implement with confidence and know that we're providing a real solution.
Yeah, I keep marveling at the true zero touch here. I mean, almost 2,000 locations and 2% of them you had to actually go to. Like yeah, that's cool.
This next case study is built on actually yeah, anyway, I don't know how to say the word, but I'll tell you anyways. So this next case study is a really neat one because a gentleman named Brian, and if you've watched the video from uh, Salad and Go, they were trying to launch a Salad and Go store at the Super Bowl, and the broadband provider they had contract was still 6 months out, $56,000 to do the install, and they had the Super Bowl, and the store was ready. They just had no internet, and reached out to Peplink, got connected with us. Within 48 hours, we had overnighted him the equipment, got it set up, a BR2 Pro 5G with antennas, got them set up, and basically saved their Super Bowl connectivity so they could operate the store during the Super Bowl. That was so successful that they canceled all contracts with broadband and switched to Peplink. And we ended up migrating a lot of their other sites. Brian moved over to uh, a car wash company and uh, and walked in the door. He gives me a call and goes, "How fast can you get me a bunch of routers?" And he walked in and he noticed they were running another brand with a 4G backup, the M brand, and he goes, I don't want it." And so we literally went through and replaced or are in the middle of replacing all 115 M routers with BR2 Pro 5Gs and doing full broadband replacement with dual 5G. So with Sport Clips, we're running broadband backup, hot failover. We're backing up the broadband with 5G. With the car wash, we're replacing broadband with bonded 5G. And so it's two T-Mobiles or T-Mobile and AT&T or T-Mobile and Verizon. Um, and literally just that's it. And it was what's funny for me is there was no sales pitch because he already had the sales pitch with Salad and Go. Um, but it reduced licensing costs, simple deployment, reliable because we had dual carrier support, and then In Control allowed them to simplify management and overhead of their IT infrastructure. And it really, let's see if there's a slide. Yeah, there we go. So really improving how they function on a daily basis, allowing them to deploy more stores faster and allowing them to be up and running without any downtime or really any headaches. And so they settle out on the BR2 Pro 5G. They're using 28 and 40, 24 and 48 port Peplink switches, and then either dual 42Gs, single 82Gs, or in some cases the maritime 40Gs. They're running. They have a whole bunch of cameras, and upload throughput is critical for them. And so we standardize on the 42G, but if that is not sufficient on upload capacity, we go with the maritime 40G, and that has not let us down yet. So we're having a lot of fun with that and keeping their uptime stable. So
I think that's another cool benefit here that you've touched on that I don't think most people understand is, you're able to hit serious upload targets with a pure wireless solution, right? With SpeedFusion, you can actually achieve that. You don't have to just live with the limits of one wireless connection or any of them.
Amen, 100%. And Sal and Go, they actually have a cool video on this one, a testimonial from Brian. And once again, adopting the full Peplink ecosystem, the BR2 Pro. And they actually have a mix of hardware because as they were building out, the technology was evolving, and standardized on the BR2 chipset model with 42Gs and Peplink rugged switches is what they ended up solidifying on, and allowing them to, once again, full retail replacement, zero touch deployments, and easy management with In Control. But the big play here is that 0 day, right? You're not waiting for broadband. You literally plug it in, turn it on, and the construction crew has internet. Like, we're up and running so fast that they use it for the construction crew to give them Wi-Fi while they're building out the network. And that's crazy. And
That's
Brian,
really awesome because they are notorious for having that same connectivity issue too. So
yeah.
that's cool that they get to use it right away on the start.
And you think about it. I mean, and Brian said this, not me, but it's instant deployment, 4 to 6 months reduced to 4 to 6 hours, 100 new sites powered by 5G, eliminated 20K in cabling costs per site, and smashed monthly fees by 75%. I mean, that's real money, especially when you're building and growing and trying to scale.
Yep.
And then proven reliability, 0 support tickets submitted since the Peplink rollout, 0. I mean, that's insane.
That's why he called you day one at his new job, right? I mean, yeah, that's so cool. I mean, you don't have to scale your IT team up. You can just make the problems go down.
This is my ice cream store. We run the BR1 Pro 5G. It doesn't sit next to the cash register. We did that just for you guys, but it sits in the back. But the technology that we use and we sell, we also use. One thing I will say is West Networks, Travis, Peplink. We're using what we sell. We're using what we talk about, and whether it's a small ice cream store or my enterprise, we're 100% powered by Peplink. That's what we use every day, and proven reliability, proven stability, and scalability as we grow and build out more and more networks.
Yeah, and that's where, things like the B1 come in, right? You've got devices that are affordable enough to use them in all those scenarios. And yeah, it's you can get those benefits in just about any budget. Well, Peter,
The
those were awesome case studies, like several just excellent examples of what we're able to achieve. And yeah, thanks for putting all that together.
And you can run these in HA. If you notice, this is a B1 top. In my router, actually B1 top and B1 bottom, I've got an 8-port switch, two B1s. And literally, I mean, think about it, two B1s in HA at $1,100. I mean,
Yeah.
so you're not, it's not, you know, it's attainable. It's not
Yeah.
something that just is going to break the bank. Um, and so it allows you to really build scalable networks in real time. And so we're going to open up for questions. If anybody wants to see anything or play around with anything, let me know. Let me see here. I'm trying to pull up my questions here. More Q&A. Do you sell the box you created for B1? We can. I mean, so yeah, just reach out to Peter at westnetworks.com or sales at westnetworks.com. And if you want to see the box that we created, you can definitely see it. We just we tried to get it manufactured and ended up building. We have I think I don't know, a lot. We ended up, in order to do 2,000, and we ended up building an entire print farm so we could make them fast enough. Um, but but yeah, if you reach out to Peter at westnetworks.com, we'd be more than happy to try to help you with that. Is it? I've got this demo. Does anybody want to see anything, or how it's set up? Did that make sense for everybody? I know this is. I wanted to show off all the technologies. I've got the Verizon 5G, the Starlink, and the T-Mobile 5G in my broadband. I'm actually creating all the content for the Peplink Summit here in November, and so I wanted to be able to show off in our lab environment, all like literally everything that you can have set up. So I've got synergy mode, I've got VLAN as WAN, cellular built in. This R, that's Peplink eSIM. You see right there, it says data for Peplink eSIM. So I've got Peplink eSIM, physical SIM. So it's kind of like everything right there in one router, just to show off the capabilities of the ecosystem. But okay,
That router is not going down, right? That router is
no, it's not. And we did a really cool demo at the summit last year where we did sub-second hard speed fusion failover, and I thought it was really neat. We set up HA. We did not check configuration sync, so we had HA with configuration sync turned off, and we enabled connect WANs because the B1 has 5G on it. So
Yep.
literally, you had it set up with the B1 5G. You had speed fusion established twice, one on the master and on the slave. The router failed over. The broadband moved over down to the slave unit. The 5G was already up and running with speed fusion. So the only outage, which is the time it took to detect the failover, which we had it on extreme. And so we were able to fail over and sub-second failover between hardware by having two speed fusion connections up and running, one on the master and on the slave. And it was amazing. It does require that you have an active internet on the slave for it to do it. But it was pretty cool to see. And we got challenged with that at the summit. And that's kind of the fun stuff about the summit, is that we get to communicate, talk, and people ask crazy questions, and we're able to bounce ideas off each other. So,
But yeah, again, that's a $1,200 kit that you just described, and it's achieving things that people pay $10,000 for at their store. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's pretty wild. It's
So,
all there.
well, Travis, thank you so much. Once again, we're consistent here. I think 26 or 27 sessions. So I really appreciate your dedication to the community on this, and Peplink's support of what we're trying to accomplish. If you have any suggestions or want to learn something, please reach out. Let us know. Peter at westnetworks.com, Travis at Peplink.com. And and if you have any questions, need me connected with a partner, need just finding a distributor, something like that, let me know. And we'd be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. If we didn't get to you, just let us know. And thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.